have a responsibility to welcome people into our houses of worship, to show them. We're not building bombs here, we're not training any terrorists. You know what I mean? There's a come listen to the lecture, come and listen. Everything is open. That's one of the realities. There was a lady who came in, she's like, why is your mosque this open? You guys need to like fortify it so that nobody can get in. And we're like, that's not the purpose of the mosque. It's meant to be a community place where everybody's welcome no matter what. You don't have to be Muslim to go into a mosque. A lot of people, most of the people were shocked. Really? I don't have to? No, you don't have to be. We're not checking ID at the door. We don't have memberships. We don't have anything like this. Everybody is welcome in. That older gentleman that I mentioned, somebody asked me, do you know who he is? I said, no. And they said, he is Ata al-Ayyan's father. Ata, of course, was one of the victims. He's 34 years old. He has a 2-year-old daughter. He's one of the people who died in the massacre. He had a front page article about him because he was on the national soccer team, the indoor soccer team. He was also an entrepreneur. You know, he was well into tech. And this is his father smiling in the mosque, and he's just handing out dates to everybody who's there, welcoming them in. And so when I found out, I went up to him, I kissed his forehead, and I was like, you know, mashallah alayk, and I gave him condolences, and I was surprised. I was like, why wouldn't I be happy? Why wouldn't I be proud of you know, a son like this? And there's something, and this is also for the Muslims, that his father, whenever he was there, he would actually lead the prayer. And I realized that, of course, you know what I mean, a son who grew up in that environment, the mosque, and everything like this, would turn out to be such a good person. Like, he grew up in that mosque. This is where he went. This is where he went for Sunday school. That's where he went for all of his learning, etc. And so he was a product of that community, and he was a shining product. And of course, we believe in Islam. God says in the Quran, وَيَتَّخِذَ مِنْكُمْ شُهَدَاءَ, that Allah, God, chooses from you the martyrs. Meaning, during certain circumstances, we hope that they are martyrs. And a martyr in Islam is a person who dies defending their life, wealth, or honor. And we believe that they combine all of these things. That they were there in a place of worship. It was on the day of Friday. They were actually in a state of worship, worshiping God. They couldn't have died a better way. They couldn't. After I had the honor of giving the khutbah, the Friday sermon, in Linwood Mosque, which is the second mosque that he targeted. And it was one of the most, in fact, it was the most emotionally difficult sermon that I have ever given in my life. Every few minutes somebody breaks down in tears, people remember, reminisce, you know, something is said. And after the sermon, there was a Somali brother who came up to me and he says, Sheikh, I have a question for you. I said, go ahead, what's going on? He said, I feel guilty. I can't live with myself since what happened. I said, why do you feel guilty? You know, we encountered a lot of this. There's just survivor's guilt, right, after the fact. And we would talk to them on how to, you know, try to overcome it and whatnot. We were lucky enough to have a sister who came with her brother. And she is a psychologist. She's a therapist. She was trying to help people out and whatnot. So I was talking to this brother, and he said, I feel guilty. Why do you feel guilty? He says, you know, when the shooting happened, it was so chaotic that I ran out of the mosque just like everybody else did, and I found the closest wall. I jumped the wall, fell down on my leg, and I broke my leg. And then after I broke it, and I'm tending to my leg, I didn't realize it was broken. I realized that I left my dad in the mosque. So he says, I climbed the wall with my messed up leg, I fell down again, and the shooting was still going on, so I had to hide behind a car until the shooting stopped. He says, once it stopped, I ran into the mosque, you know, of course, limping. And he says, I found my dad had passed away among those who had died. And he says, you know, since then I don't know if what I did was right, if my dad died because of me. And I said, of course your dad didn't die because of you. You have nothing to do with your dad's death. That wasn't on you at all. And in fact, I will tell you that what you did is actually the right thing. He said, why? I said, you have a family? He said, yes. I have a daughter. I said, if you stayed, who would have raised your daughter? Your dad, alhamdulillah, he raised you, he raised, you know, everybody else. He's fine. In fact, if you were to ask your father how he would like to die, wouldn't he choose this? Meaning being in God's house. We believe as Muslims, the mosques are God's houses on this earth. Wouldn't he want to die in God's house? In a state of worship, they were praying. They weren't even attending the sermon. They were actually in salah. They were in the second rak'ah when this happened. Okay? They were in the prayer itself. He died in prayer, in the house of God, in a state of wudu, in, you know what I mean? The best way possible. If you think about it from a spiritual point of view, don't you think he would have chosen this death if he would have given that option? He said, yeah, he would have chosen it. I said, then don't feel bad. Your dad is actually happy right now. I can almost guarantee you. Of course, we can't definitively, but I can almost guarantee you that he's in a better place. Because of our faith, because of everything that we believe in. I told him, don't despair, don't. What you did was actually correct. Don't worry about it. He says, thank you. He was still on crutches, when I talked to him. And it's, these are just some of the stories that we heard while we were there. The point being, of course, I don't want to take too long. I know it's probably time for Maghrib, the sunset prayer. I will end with some of the nice things that I saw in New Zealand. How much the community there was supportive of the Muslim population. The amount of support was overwhelming. And I was secretly jealous. You know what I mean? In a way, we call this halal jealousy. You know what I mean? Allowed jealousy, where I'm like, mashallah, may Allah bless the amount of goodwill that you guys are seeing here, and I hope that we can do the same thing in America. And these are good. Events like this are good. But we need more. We need a lot more. There's so much negativity. There's so much hate. There's so many, vile things that are thrown out there in the media, between people, etc. I had an older gentleman come to our mosque in Memphis, where I used to work, and he said, I'm here. They told us he was taking online courses, middle-aged gentleman, and he said, I have to do a report. I have to visit a place of worship that I've never visited before. And when I went down the list, I only had one left. That was a mosque. And so he said, I called, and he called beforehand, and we told him, yeah, come in, that's fine. And he just wanted to talk to somebody, so I talked to him. And I asked him, how do you feel? You look, everything okay? He's like, to be honest. Because this is after my sermon. So he came in, listened to the sermon, and then we're sitting down. He's like, to be honest, I was sweating bullets. I was afraid. And I'm like, you're a big guy. He was 6'5". Big guy. I was like, why? There's nothing to be afraid of. He's like, you don't know what we're told about you guys. You don't know what they say about you. He's like, in my own church that I go to, we're told that you guys, all you preach is hate against us. And he's like, I came here and sat in your sermon. I heard the exact opposite. All I heard were words of love and reaching out. And he's like, this is actually one of the best sermons that I've listened to in a while. I was like, thank you for that. I appreciate the compliment. But he said, he's like, I want to invite you to my church because I want these people to know that what they're saying is actually false. And I said, I can try to come. I can do this. He actually interviewed me. He did a Facebook Live. A lot of people, he got some flack for it from what he said. But he was like, I don't care. He's like, in the beginning, I was super skeptical, and now I'm an advocate. And I think we need to convert people like this one by one. Not to Islam, I'm just saying, to the idea of at least being friendly towards Muslims, or at least, so that they can come in and see the truth. You know what I mean? The lies that are spread. Because the lies have an effect. Somebody will believe them. Somebody will think that they're doing the right thing when they walk into a mosque and shoot up everybody inside, or when they go into a synagogue or a Catholic church or any type of church. This is why we have to start by educating each other, welcoming each other, going to each other's events, being neighbors, and being brothers and sisters in humanity. And I saw that in New Zealand, and I hope that we can do more of that here as well, God willing, inshallah ta'ala. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight. And I look forward to meeting more of you as the days go by. Of course, like you said, I'm moving to Nashville. I'll be moving next Friday is when we make it official. So thank you so much for your hospitality. Have a good evening. Thank you very much.